Hi guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and as has been promised since the first one went up, it is time for a second book unhaul. So when I did the first unhaul, pulling all of those books off of my shelves that I just didn't want anymore, that I wasn't going to read, that were just taking up space, it felt so freeing that I kept going after that video was over. I just kept pulling things off the shelves. Of course, the spots I made didn't last long. You've seen the hauls that have gone up since then, but pulling them off my shelves made space for those new books, but more importantly, it made space in my head. It felt really good to just not have them weighing on me, I guess. It sounds so silly, but when you have all of these books and you're like, well, I probably should read it, or this was sent to me, and like you feel bad about not giving it its due, I guess. It feels really good to just let them go and be like, oh, it wasn't the one for me. That's not the end of the world. So I kept going till I had quite the sizable pile of books to get rid of. Though I have taken off more than this, I think this box is good enough for one video. So there will be another unhaul coming soon. I'm going to go through my shelves a little bit more, especially some of the ones that are harder to reach. I didn't go through, but most of my shelves I went through. So pretty soon I think I'm going to completely reorganize my shelves, and I'll probably take off some more then, and that will be the final, for the time being, unhaul. But for now, this box is a nice solid one. So let's take a look at what I am just kicking out of there. First up, we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Now, before you all freak out, I love this. But I have two copies. The fabulous Liz knew that I hate this copy. It's just not, I don't like this cover art. It just doesn't seem right to me. And there were a couple of really pretty editions that came out that I was like, oh, I want one of those instead, but it's stupid to go buy when I already have a perfectly good, perfect condition hardcover. So I wouldn't do it. But Liz did. She sent me one of the prettier copies, which means this one needs to go. It should have gone a while ago, because I've had that other copy for ages, but it was buried on the bottom shelf in the very back, and I couldn't get to it. I didn't know where it was, so it just stayed there. But now, I know. And it's a goner. Next we have Chronicles of Avonlea by Ellen Montgomery. I kept feeling like I had two copies of this, but then every time I would go to try to like search my shelves for them, I would only find the one. But each time I was like, wait, is that what it looked like the last time that I found it? Apparently I just kept repeatedly finding the other one, thinking like, oh, that title sounds familiar, or wait a minute, I thought that was on my purple shelf or something. So I finally realized, yes, I do have two copies and I don't need them. So I'm keeping the better copy. This one, even though it's hardcover, is like really beat up, old library copy. And someone else can love it as much as I do. Next I have My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult. It was at a time when everyone was kind of talking about it. It was before the movie came out, well before the movie came out. And once the movie came out and I kind of knew more about it, knew what it was about, it sounded less interesting to me a little bit. Like, I like the premise, but I feel like I needed to not know before going in to appreciate it more, if that makes any sense. So when I was going through my shelves, I had to admit, I'm probably never going to read this, and if I want to, I'll get it from the library. Then we have The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funke. I bought this one from one of those little Scholastic, like, book fair things. Not from the book fair, but from, like, the little pamphlet catalog things that you get sent home. My neighbors, when her kids were still in elementary school, she would call me whenever they got those, and I'd come down and look and see if there was anything I wanted. So this I picked up even though I hated Inkheart. I seriously hated that book, but I was like, I'm gonna give her another try. I know I tried it a couple of times and couldn't get into it, and I just kept hanging on to it thinking like, no, I'm gonna just try it, I'm gonna do it, but I'm not. I didn't like Inkheart. I don't like this one enough to keep going with it. Why am I hanging on to it? No. Triangles by Ellen Hopkins. This is a galley that was pushed into my hands the first time that I went to ALA, and it was like, no, you have to read this. And at the time, everyone loved her, and this was her first foray into adult, and I thought the cover was pretty. I really like, I don't know how well you'll be able to tell, but the title has like a sort of rainbowish sheen, which is really, really pretty. And because people were talking so highly about her at the time, I was like, yeah, okay. No, I'm not gonna read this. When I pulled it off my shelves, I thought about keeping it. I flipped it open. It's, all of her stories are told in verse. So I was like, you know, maybe it'll be a quick one. Maybe I can just read it. I started reading it. I was like, this is just not, it's not my thing. Like, I'm not gonna read this. So it might as well go to someone who will love it. I don't think that person will be me. Can't remember if I showed this one last time and if it just got left in the box. A lot of those books ended up going into a local little free library. The rest, and the ones I'm showing today, are going to my local library for their big book sale that raises funds for things. So I might have shown this one already. Don't remember, but it's What Waits in the Woods by Kieran Scott. It was still hanging out in the box, so I'm showing it just in case it didn't get shown. But this was one that was just randomly sent to me, and it may be plenty good. It's, you know, thriller, mystery, horror, adventure type thing. But I've had a number of these types of books that seem very similar that have been sent to me over the years, and every time I read one of them, I always end up disappointed. So maybe it's suffering from those past books, maybe it's really good, but because of that it doesn't appeal to me. So I'm sure it will appeal to someone at the library book sale. Next we have a couple of Harry Potter books. This is The Sorcerer's Stone, this one is Order of the Phoenix. Funny enough, these are the two that it would be hardest for me to get rid of, but I am. So this is the first one that I ever bought, and I love this cover style, and I've kept it for years purely because of this very simple cover style. I just really like it. Order of the Phoenix for a long time, and maybe still, was my favorite. This and Prisoner of Azkaban. It's a toss-up. But I have a big pretty set that I bought. Nice box set. So there's no reason for me to keep these anymore. For a while I was keeping them to use in other things, and some of them I even kept and have been cutting pages out for projects. So I know that's sacrilege to some of you, but I was going to hang on to them for that, but I don't need to have like a full set of Harry Potter books to pull pages out of, so someone will love these. Some kid will be very happy to find these. Next we have R.L. Stine Presents Fear. This is a horror anthology that was just randomly sent to me, I believe. Maybe I got it at ALA, I'm not sure. I hung on to it because I think anthologies like this are a really great way to discover new authors, but I've never felt the need to pick it up. I do kind of debate it, like there are some people in here whose writing I'm curious about, but it's just been languishing on my shelves and it seemed kind of pointless, so I don't know. I am really curious though what kind of horror story Meg Cabot wrote. Next we have Riders by Veronica Rossi. I will link to my review of this one. I think it was a full review, maybe it was just like a wrap-up video where I talked about things that I had been reading, but I got all the way up to the end of this one and then just didn't care anymore and didn't finish it. I like skimmed the very end of it. I didn't really care enough, and I didn't care enough to go on with the rest of the series. Again, this is one I think someone will be very happy to find in the book sale or in the little free library, so there's no reason for me to hang on to it when it just wasn't doing it for me. First book of the Series of Unfortunate Events series. Again, this is one I got from the little Scholastic things from my neighbor. I think I got him to read with or to my brother and sister at the time, and I'm pretty sure that we did, but like I don't still need it. I don't need it. Roman Fever and Other Stories by Edith Wharton. I have 2 copies, so I kept the better one. And on a similar note, Wildwood Dancing by Juliet Marillier. I have 2 copies. This one is nice solid hardcover. It has like a weird finish on it. It almost has like a canvas feel to it. But anyway, I kept the better of the 2. That was one that when I bought the second copy, I was like, wait a minute, do I already have this? And then I couldn't find it for ages. And then I found it, so it's going. Being Henry David by Cal Armistead. This is one that I debated on keeping because every now and then I look at it on my shelves and I'm like, I should read that. There is something about it that calls to me. It was one of the first books that was just sent to me on like a, we think you'll like this one, try it type of thing. And I feel like I read a little bit at the time and then it just kind of got stuck on my shelves and forgotten about. I still look at it every now and then and there is still something about it that kind of calls to me, but I don't know. I feel like I'm probably never going to read it and that someone else will and will love it. I am curious about it, but I'm not talking myself into putting it back on my shelves. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Here is another anthology of horror stories that was sent to me. This is the Guys Read Terrifying Tales, edited by John Cheska. Again, has lots of different authors in it, so it's a great way to discover things, but some kid is going to love this way more than I will. The Comet's Curse by Dom Testa. This one, I couldn't remember how I ended up with this on my shelves. I was thinking that I hadn't bought it, but then it had a book outlet slip on the inside that reminded me that yes, I did. And I had this full flashback of buying it at the time when I was hauling a lot of books with my own money. Now, I know I still haul a lot of books because things get sent to me, but for a while there I was buying way too many books. especially after I discovered Book Outlet, because, you know, I wanted to get to free shipping, so I would load up a big old box of books. And this one kept popping up every time that I'd go shopping on Book Outlet, and I kept not getting it every time. And then I guess it just wore me down because I finally added it. And I don't know why, because I don't know that I ever intended to read it. Maybe it's really good, I don't know. Maybe I heard someone talking about it. I don't know why I bought it. I don't think I'm ever going to read it. In fact, I know I'm not now because I'm getting rid of it. We're getting there, guys. Next we have Falling Over Sideways by Jordan Sonnenblick. I did a first impressions of this. I will link that video. It was fine, but it's just not something that kept calling to me and made me want to keep going. I think that it would probably be very likable, but I just don't have enough reading time to work in things that aren't like really calling to me. So there's no point in it languishing on my shelves, even though it seems like it's decent. Shift by Kim Curran. This might be another one that I already showed. I'm not positive. There were a few books that were like hanging out next to this box, and I don't know if it's just that they fell out or that they were from last time and got missed. Whatever. The point of this is I got sent like a package of books from Strange Chemistry when they were still a thing, and this was one of them, and it just hasn't really called to me. And I thought that by shifter they meant like, you know, werewolf type of thing, like you're shifting into a creature, but actually now that I'm looking at the back, shifting is the power to undo any decision that he's ever made, just change anything with a single thought. So not at all what I thought it was going to be, and maybe it's really neat, but it's just going to sit on my shelves. Then we have Salt and Stone by Victoria Scott. I thought about hanging on to this one. I am curious about it, but this is a sequel. I don't have the first book. I haven't read the first book. I don't know when I ever would, so there's no point in me hanging on to it. If I decide I'm going to read the series at a later date, I'll deal with it then. And lastly, we have The Zodiac Legacy Convergence by Stanley Stewart Moore and Andy Tong. This is, I mean, most of you I'm sure have heard about Stanley or know who Stanley is. So it takes his kind of like superhero comic-y vibe, but to a novel form, and I believe this was his first novel, but it does have, as you can see, some illustrations in it, which are great. I did feature this one in a post, and I will link to that, and then Disney sent me a copy too, but I didn't have time to review it at the time. I did read a little bit of it, and it just wasn't enough to make me push aside whatever else I was reading, and ever since then it's been sitting on my shelves, and I haven't felt the need to go back to it. So again, this is one someone will be very happy to find in the pile, I'm sure. So that is a massive pile of books that are leaving my house. That is definitely a bigger pile than it was last time. I am not entirely sure how I fit them all in the box. As I said, there will be more coming, and then hopefully I will rearrange my shelves and we'll have an updated bookshelf tour. But don't hound me for it because it won't be too soon. There's just no way. It's not going to happen for a little while at least, but hopefully it will happen. But that is all for now. If you've read any of these books, I would love to know your thoughts. Did I make a big mistake in getting rid of them? Let me know. And if you want to see another unhaul, or you want to see the process of me reorganizing my books and a new bookshelf tour or anything like that, weigh in the comments, because I would love to know whether those are wanted things. But that's all for now. Thank you guys for watching this video, and as always, happy reading. Next we have Riders by... Next we have Riders by Oh my god. What the hell? What the hell? And lastly we have The Zodiac Legacy... What the hell?